right, hey folks, we're gonna do some artwork. No, we're not doing artwork today. What are we doing? We're working on the Color Magic Spell Point Sorcerer for Dungeons & Dragons 5e to 4. Give me a second here to check my signal here. We'll see if we're live and direct. I've got some social media posting to do, as one does. Yeah, okay, it sounds like I'm coming through. And then we'll get to work here for an hour or so. So give me a hot second here while I do some updates. We're looking right now at a Gruul Wild Sorcerer using red and green magic from Ravnica. Could also be an Eldraine Fey creature just as easily. I'm just a big Ravnica enthusiast, so I tend to think in the color pairings like that as opposed to monochrome. But I digress. My name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. And I've been creating content for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition since 2018. I've been a freelance illustrator since 1999. Let's see. I've been an MTG enthusiast since 1994. And I've been a DM since 1987. So I started creating content on the DMsGuild when the Ravnica campaign setting came out, Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, that Wizards published, the first bridge from Magic the Gathering into Dungeons & Dragons, and they left all the color identity stuff behind. There's no mana, there's no tapping, there's no 5 colors, there's no alignment system that defines your character using the color pie system, which is just excellent at character description. And since all that stuff was kind of left out, that's what motivated me to start brewing with 5e content. And 7 years later, with 2020, well, I created that in 2018 and have been adding books to it ever since. And now that we have new mechanics in 2024, the mana system works even better with characters now. And we're playtesting the martial power system. That is a means of giving martial characters the same color mana resource that spellcasters can use. So all 13 classes in D&D can use the same unified mana system to do cool things, whether you're a caster or a martial. So we've been playtesting that on my Discord server for the past 8-9 months, off and on. So yeah, we're still doing that. We're running a mega dungeon right now at 5th level. We're going to go till 10th level, and then we're going to start playing Mage Tower in small 3-man teams using mana options, spellcasting, and martial power systems to try to score points or eliminate contestants on the battlefield. So that'll be fun. But let me finish rambling and say, if you think this stuff is cool, I'm here 9 times per week. So like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notification of when we're live in the future. Here's the color mana system that's on DMsGuild, and here's a bunch of other books that I've made. They're all free preview. You can read them from cover to cover. If you decide that you like how they change flavor in your in your D&D 5e games, consider picking some of that stuff up to encourage similar behavior. And today we are, let's see, full playlist here. The Martial Powers playtest content. You can click through my Patreon, and if you want to support me here, God bless you, but not required. You can just click the Martial Powers button, and it's going to pop open a Google Doc. And this is it's going to be read-only for you, but this is the same Google Doc that we've been working on literally over the past year. And at this point, we have all 13 character classes that are translated into 5e24 language throughout the book. It's currently sitting at 161 pages of both players and DM stuff. Like, we built an entire hex crawl system using colors as the land management system for determining what random environments, creatures, traps, enchantments, and stuff that the characters could encounter. It also has a dungeon crawl Beckme style loot equals XP system at the very bottom of the document, along with some random tables for making traps and stuff. So, and there's also sample monsters utilizing martial powers to give them additional kits of abilities that allow them to have like tactical control and tactical decisions in the game that can modify where they or other characters are being positioned and stuff. So worth checking out. But today we're focusing on Wild Magic Sorcery. We've already dug through the other three subclasses that are presented in the Player's Handbook 2024. And there is a stack of neglected or forsaken sorcery subclasses that have not been addressed, that are still in the the 2014 Player's Handbook and Tasha's and stuff that we can update as well. So we're going to get through Wild Magic Sorcery today, and then we're going to pick up the Forsaken subclasses and continue from there. Whew. So let's see. We're looking at here's the Clockwork Sorcery. All of these have bonus spell lists. All the sorcerer classes do, except the Wild Magic Sorcerer and the Divine Sorcerer don't get bonus spells apparently. So we're going to put on our Tinker hat and build for 5e24 to make cool stuff and lean into some of the neat mechanical stuff that we can do with this new system. So I'm just gonna grab Draconic Sorcery here and let's kick on down. There's Wild Magic spells, Wild Magic Surge. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Level 3 variant, Wild Magic spells. So for the there's Wild Magic Surge, Wild Magic spells. Wild Magic, as we can see here, the Wild Magic Sorcerer doesn't get any bonus spells, but they get this random table of good and bad. It's not the same. So one of the things is worth addressing here for those that aren't indoctrinated is that how we've changed the sorcerer to utilize spell points. Obviously, spell points is a generic mana system. It's a 1-to-1 point ratio. A first level spell costs 1 point. A 9th level spell costs 9 points. I bet you know how many spell points a 5th level spell costs. Probably 5, right? Well, you're right. So it's linear progression. So when you look at spell points, you just automatically know how many spells you can cast of whatever level. You don't have to do any stupid math. I sincerely believe that Wizards made spell points difficult on purpose, so that people wouldn't just ask, why aren't we just using spell points? Because a 13-point cost for a 9th level spell versus a 2-point cost for a 1st level spell means that, according to Wizards of the Coast, 9th level spells are only 6.5 times more powerful than a 9th level spell. And I just don't know how that jives. So it's my conspiracy theory. Fight with me on my Discord if you want. You're welcome there, of course. Okay, so we've updated. These are all the mechanics for the 5e24 that have been modified by Color Magic System. One of the big call-outs here is that the mana pool is both your spell points and your sorcery points blended together. So normally a full, like in the Color Mana System, if you check out the Color Mana System here, let's go to Core Mechanics real quick. We're rebuilding all of these books for 2024, and we're probably going to start that in November. So I've got some other projects I need to close out before we get this started, but like I said, the entire book is here. Here's our basic beginning scaffold for mana. And again, the entire book is here for you, but it's been updated in the other things. So check them all out. But a full caster at 20th level is going to have 80 mana. A half caster at 20th level will have 40 mana. And a third caster or minor caster like Arcane Trickster, Eldritch Knight has 20 mana at 20th level. That also includes like Pact Magic for Warlocks. It also includes the key or mana pool that monks get, except that the Warlock and the Monk get theirs back on a short rest, while the rules as written, Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster get theirs back on a long rest. We've modified that with the martial power system so that all martial characters, Barbarian, Fighter, Monk, as well as the Paladin and Ranger, Rogue, Artificer, and Warlock is all using a half-casting progression system that has a 20-point mana pool that refreshes on a short rest. We've also considerably juiced up the amount. We've given you a shitload of powers. that is a combination of like maneuvers, strikes, reactions, sustained effects, maneuvers, exploits. I think I may have mentioned some of those before, but it also includes like the weapon masteries that you can learn, fighting styles, and other feats that you can pick up as powers. So if you just want to have a shitload of feats and weapon masteries and damage types, like I just deal lightning damage when I attack, you can make that a power so your damage isn't slashing damage, it's now lightning damage, like for example. And you can pick up like slasher, like you could pick up the slasher feat as a prepared power, but if you're not dealing slashing damage, slasher feat isn't helping you. So, or you could pick up a power that allows you to deal lightning damage so that you can overcome any kind of weapon resistance, for instance. I'm going to shift around in my seat a lot because I've been drinking a lot of coffee, so bear with me. But this also works on a short rest mana system with up to 20 mana. Hey, Ani. It's good to see you, man. So this is the context that we're looking at when we're looking at the scaling mana. A full caster has 80 mana at 20th level. And some of them, like a druid and wizard and stuff, can regain some points of mana with a short rest. But that context there shows you that the sorcerer has 100 mana at 20th level, which is the 80 mana that you would normally get over the course of your 20 levels, plus the 20 sorcery points that you would get because you're a sorcerer. It all boils down to 100 points of mana across 20 levels. The other big mechanical change is that the meta magic is treated as spells for the sorcerer. So you don't have a separate list of how many spells can you know and how many meta magics can you know. You just have a lump of prepared spells, 25 of them at 20th level, in addition to the bonus spells that you get for your subclass. But this could be 20 meta magics and 2 spells. And then you just use all of your meta magics to modify the spells that you know. The cantrips that you pick up, yes, we give you extra cantrips to juice that up. And then you also gain a stack of, well, most of the subclasses get a stack of bonus spells. So if I wanted to play an aberrant sorcerer, I could just take, and here's all the meta magic feats that we have, and they have different point costs. So like up to 4 mana to maximize the spell. Instead of rolling dice, you just automatically deal the maximum amount of damage that the die could do. Terrifying spell scares up everybody that gets targeted by the spell up to your charisma modifier. And like poisoning spell poisons people. Blinding spell blinds people. Quicken spell, you know what that means. Implosive spell pulls people to you. Explosive spell pushes people away from you. Entangling spell, anyone that's hit by your spell effect, if they fail a saving throw, they are now entangled and restrained. Delayed spell allows you to maintain concentration on a spell and then use your reaction to pop it as a reaction or as a set circumstance so that you can hold on to a spell pre-battle or whatever, so you can get the drop on people. And you got a crap ton of first level spells, so our first level meta magic. And then we have, so what's interesting here is that we have the half casting progression for your sorcery. So you're blending all of your all your meta magic into your spell supply, and the mana pool is borrowing off of both of them, but you have a cap on how much mana you can spend on spells set by your maximum spell level, and you have a separate but complementary cap on how much mana you can spend on meta magic. So at ninth level, I can have up to 3 mana spent on meta magic, and I can cast up to a 5th level spell. So I could spend potentially a total of 8 mana at 9th level, 5th level spell plus 3 mana worth of meta magics. So you can combine these meta magic together to make combo packs. At 9th level, I could cast Careful Spell to make sure that my allies aren't hit by the spell effect, and add on to it, I could tack on Entangling Spell, which costs 2 mana. So for a total of 3 mana, I could have a Careful Spell, so that everyone in the area of effect is hit by the spell that now entangles targets, and my team members are going to be completely skipped by it. So I can combo these things together, and I have a fat enough mana pool to be able to pull off these cool Nova combos. But I also have a lot of cantrips, and I can use, obviously, the meta magic with cantrips as well. So that's the way that you can manipulate your mana pool, those 2 ways. So if we're looking at the aberrant sorcerer, right? And so the aberrant sorcerer gets 10 free spells from level 3 to 9, and we get 25 spells over the course of our sorcerer's 20 levels. I could just stick with these 10 spells and load up on 23 different meta magics. Have just 2 whatever spells laying around, whatever I want to pick out. But I could just be meta magic god. And so like Calm Emotions is an enchantment charm effect spell. If I were to use Calm Emotions, I would maybe want to consider picking up, what is it? Which one is it? Hold on. Shut up, phone. Convincing Spell. When you cast a charm or illusion spell, the initial save against the spell and subsequent checks to disbelieve, if it's an illusion, they're all rolled with disadvantage. So if I were to hit you with Calm Emotion, and then I added Convincing Spell onto it, you making a save against Calm Emotion would be at disadvantage. Like this would be a really good meta magic just to start tacking on to stuff that the aberrant or no, that's a warlock. Yeah, the aberrant sorcerer would use words. Okay, so but the wild sorcerer is different. So the wild magic sorcerer doesn't get any spells assigned to them. They get this random table, this big fat random table, and they get this random table instead of added spells. So what's some of the cool stuff that you could potentially get? Well, you could take 1 extra action this turn. That is really amazing. You could have resistance to all damage for the next minute. That is also really awesome. Let's see. We gain hit points. Saving throws in the next table. Let's see. Creatures have disadvantage on saving throws against you. For the next minute, you can teleport up to 20 feet as a bonus action. Spectral Shield hovers near you. For the next minute, you can take 1 extra action. We talked about that one already. For the next minute, any flammable, non-magical object you touch that isn't being worn or carried by another creature bursts into flame, taking damage and is burning. If you die, you immediately revive. There's some good stuff in here. You have the Frightened condition until the end of your next turn. DM determines the source. Random creature within 60 feet of you has the poison condition for 1d4 hours. That is probably going to be your ally. You radiate bright light. Up to 3 creatures of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you takes lightning damage. You could potentially kill your team. Oh, no, my choice. So that's cool, unless, of course, I'm going to kill my team. You and all creatures within 30 feet of me have vulnerability to piercing damage for the next minute. Mostly this is good stuff. Up to 3 creatures of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you takes lightning damage. You and all creatures within 30 feet of you have vulnerability to piercing damage for the next minute. Up to 3 creatures of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you takes necrotic damage. You gain hit points equal to the sum of the necrotic damage dealt. Yeah, there's a lot of really good stuff here. So I can see why they are nipping the bonus spells that you get. Most of this stuff is really, really good. But I still feel that the sorcerer has been cheated. So what I want to do instead is let's kick on down and balance this. Because I already had an idea and we already jotted it down. Wild spells. Let's see. At level 3, 5. At level 3, you gain 2 meta magic options of your choice. You gain gain 2 meta magic options that cost 1 mana each. These don't count against the total number of spells you can have prepared. At level 5, you gain 1 additional meta magic. You gain, at level 5, you gain 1 additional meta magic that costs up to 2 mana. At level 9, you gain 1 additional meta magic that costs up to 3 mana. At level 13, you gain 1 additional meta magic that costs up to 4 mana. Whenever you gain a new level, you can swap 1 meta magic gained this way for any other meta magic you now qualify to prepare. There. 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to give you a half stack because you get the random table, which isn't the same as having a list of spells. So instead, we're going to lean into the meta magic aspect of this and allow you to pick additional meta magics of your choice. Since the wild mage is maybe we could even make it random. Nah, there's not enough RNG at the 3rd and 4th level, 3rd and 4th cost. Rank, whatever. 3, 5, 9, 4. Yeah, that's perfect. That's actually perfect. Okay, cool. So that's been resolved. Let's move on to the next bit. Tides of Chaos. We're just basically picking up language as we go. So, where is it? Hold on. Yes, Wild Magic Surge. I am not going to completely duplicate the table. We've already touched this before, so we're touching it again. Touch. Your spellcasting can unleash surges of untamed magic. Once per turn, you can roll 1d20 immediately after you cast a sorcerer spell with the spell slot. If you roll a 20, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a magical effect. If the magical effect is a spell, it is too wild to be affected by your meta magic. I'm just going to grab that. And we're going to drop down here into the document. Once per turn, you can roll 1d20 immediately after you cast a spell. With a spell slot. I know I modified that for a reason, so I'm going to let that sit for a moment. Cast a spell modified by meta magic. Once per turn, you can roll. Let's for now immediately after. Once per turn, you can roll 1d20 immediately after you cast a spell. After you expend mana to cast a spell or modify or use meta magic to affect a cantrip or free casting of a spell. Boy, that's wordy. If you roll a 20, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a magical effect. If you roll a 20, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table in the PHB to create a magical effect. If the magic effect is a spell, it cannot be modified by meta magic. The Wild Magic Surge table remains as detailed in the player's handbook with the following exceptions. 57 to 60. You cast a random spell. If it normally requires concentration, it doesn't require concentration for this case. Let's see. You can cast a random spell as detailed for the result in the player's handbook. If the spell normally requires concentration, it doesn't require concentration in this case. The spell lasts for the full duration listed in the player's handbook. Okay. And then 97 to 100. If I recall correctly, these are the only things that I actually have to pay attention to. Regain hit points. There we go. So D6, 1, gain hit points. 2, one ally of your choice within 300 feet of you regains hit points. 3, you regain points of mana equal to your proficiency modifier. On a 4, one ally of your ally within your choice Within 300 feet of you, regain points of mana equal to your proficiency modifier. On a 5, you regain points of mana equal to your max spell level. And on a 6, all the effects of rows 17 through 20 affect you simultaneously. 17, no. Okay, and a bunch of garbledyglop happens. Okay, this still works. This is still consistent. Scrolling down. Tides of Chaos we have listed here. Oh, I think I have all of them in here. That's good. Looking at it again, you can manipulate Chaos itself to give yourself advantage on one d20 test before you roll the d20. Once you do so, you must cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot or finish a long rest before you can use this feature again. You can manipulate Chaos to give yourself advantage or disadvantage on d20 test. Once you do so, you must cast a Sorcerer's spell with the spell slot or finish a long rest before you can use this again. If you do cast a Sorcerer's spell with the spell slot before you finish a long rest, you automatically roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. If you do cast, you can manipulate Chaos itself to give yourself advantage on a d20 test before you roll the d20. Once you do so, you must cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot before you can use this feature again. If you do cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot before you finish a long rest, you automatically roll. Huh. Automatically roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. Okay, so this is essentially letting you basically anytime you can. Once you get to, well, this is what Jesus. This is still 3rd level. If you do cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot before you finish a long rest, you automatically roll. Why does that exist? And this language exists. Once per turn, you can roll 1d20 immediately after you cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot. If you roll a 20, roll on the Wild Magic Surge table to create a magical effect. So this says if I use a spell slot, I roll a d20, and if I get a 20, I'm going to roll a Surge. And that's at 3rd level. Also at 3rd level, Tides of Chaos. If you do cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot before you finish a long rest, you automatically roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. Before you can use this feature again. If you do, I'm automatically this. So basically, once I use, no, this is a separate thought. It's not the same thing. If you do cast a Sorcerer's spell with a spell slot before you finish a long rest, I get this feature again, and once I use it, I then use a Sorcerer's spell, and I expend mana to do so, and I will now automatically. Oh, I see the difference. Okay, that's subtle. You can give yourself advantage on one d20 test before you roll the d20. Once you do so, you must finish a long rest or modify a spell with meta magic before you can use this feature again. If you do modify a spell to regain this feature, you automatically roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. Yeah, and I already clarified it too. If you do modify a spell to regain this feature, you automatically roll on the Wild Magic Surge table. And that's the kicker. That's what's not being spelled out clearly, is that the spell has to reactivate Tides of Chaos. That's the use of the mana. And I have it set up with Wild Magic Surge. I have it set up that it's saying meta magic instead of just casting a spell with mana, because you can modify. It's the meta magic that's bending the spell. So this is encouraging you to lean into using meta magic to spend more mana than your character normally would to cast a spell. So the way that the DMG has it set up is that it's not you're getting free meta magic. You're getting free wild surges because you're just spending a spell slot to cast a spell, like you're gonna fucking do anyway. I think the Tides of Chaos, again, obviously evident here, is that you should be leaning into expending extra mana. So by spending that extra resources, you're spending less spells per day and getting wild surges as and the meta magic modifications. And the meta magic can modify more than just sorcerer spells. So you're being encouraged to step out of your character's normal actions. You have to use meta magic, and you can use that meta magic on spells that you know. And so you're using your sorcerer features outside of your sorcerer class to modify other things to eat up your mana pool more quickly by casting these other spells as well. At least that's the intent there. So it took me a little while to remember it, but I found it. So once per turn, you can roll 1d20 immediately after you expend mana to use meta magic while casting a spell or cantrip. Now I don't have to worry about if it's a free spell or not. You're always going to spend mana on meta magic. I think it's just a cleaner system. If you roll a 20, roll on the wild magic. So if I already have my chaos die and I use a meta magic, I'm going to roll a d20. If I've spent my Tides of Chaos and now I'm using a point of mana to trigger meta magic, I can now automatically get a wild surge on top of the wild magic that I'm using to modify the spell. Fun. So I'm just trying to lean into the chaos of the class. And having meta magic change what you expect the spell to do is chaotic for the people that are recipients. And then to automatically then pop a meta magic effect, you're being encouraged to spend those D20, those Tides of Chaos as often as you're casting spells. Like if you're having to make saving throws, or like a counter spell. If you're casting counter spell, you're gonna pop the Tides of Chaos for the D20 test to try to. No wait, it's a. There we go. It's a saving throw now. So never mind. When you make a saving throw, it's most likely going to be the opportunity to trigger that effect. Great. So that's an effect. Bend luck. Let's look again at bend luck. You have the ability to twist fate using your wild magic immediately after another creature that you can see rolls d20 for the d20 test. You can use a reaction and spend one sorcery point to roll 1d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or penalty, your choice, to the d20 roll. So immediately after another creature you can see rolls the d20 for a d20 test, you can take a reaction and expend 1 point of mana to roll 1d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or penalty to the d20 roll. Immediately after another creature makes a d20, takes a d20 test. Immediately after another creature takes a d20, has a d20 test, you can take a reaction, expend 1 point of mana to roll 1d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or penalty to the result of the test. There, that's the language I choose. 14, Controlled Chaos. Ooh, I don't have that listed here. Good news. Let's add it in. You gain a modicum of control over the surges of your wild magic. Whenever you roll on the wild magic surge table, you can roll twice and use either number. Okay, well, what we've been implementing in this system is, as part of the bonus action to activate your innate sorcery feature, while benefiting from your innate sorcery feature, meaning you have to be basically while benefiting, thank you, from your innate sorcery feature, whenever you roll on the Wild Magic Surge table, you can roll twice and use either result. See, again, we're taking every class, every subclass, and we're the 14th level feature is tying into innate sorcery in some way. You have to be using innate sorcery to benefit from this level 14 effect. So that's just the guideline that we're going with. It seems to be working out pretty nicely. So you can trigger innate sorcery features multiple times. By the time you get to 20th level, it's always on. Wait a second. At what point is let's go visit innate sorcery real quick, just to catch you up with the changes that we've made to it using the color mana system and the simplified duration mechanics and the modified concentration mechanics that go along with the MTG system. So, innate sorcery level 1 is a bonus action. You can unleash the magic coursing through you for 1 minute, during which you gain the following benefits. The cell save DC of your sorcery spell increases by 1. At later levels, this bonus increases equal to your max sorcery limit. So by 17th level, it's a +5 to your DCs, which is awesome and gives you a reason to want to have your innate sorcery active. You have advantage on the attack rolls of sorcerer's spells you cast. And you can use this feature twice. And you regain all expended uses of it when you finish a long rest. Level 2, you gain your meta magics. Level 7, Sorcery Incarnate. While your innate sorcery feature is active, at the end of 1 minute duration, you can choose to extend the duration by expending 1 mana and maintaining concentration on it. The effect ends when you choose to or you lose concentration. Concentrate on it as a level 1 spell, because each point of mana increases the DC of maintaining concentration by 1. Tap. You have a you have a max. Hold on. Let's see. And maintaining concentration on it as a level 1 spell. The effect ends when you choose to or you lose concentration. Okay, so at 7th level, you have access to 4th level spells, which means you can have up to 4 mana that you can maintain concentration on at a time, which means a 4th level spell, a 1st and a 3rd level spell, 2 2nd level spells, 4 1st level spells, 2 1st level spells, and a 2nd level, any combination. Up to 4. But the DC to maintain concentration increases from just a flat 10 to 10 plus the amount of mana that you are maintaining spells on up at 7th level up to 4. This is going to eat into your concentration. So if you are maintaining concentration on a 4th level spell, you can't maintain concentration on the innate sorcery feature as well. But you normally can't do that anyway. So we're already letting you break the rules by spending a point of mana to maintain concentration on it. You just don't have enough bandwidth at 7th level to concentrate on your innate sorcery and a 4th level spell at the same time. You could with a 3rd level spell, and that'd be fine. It would still be a 3rd level spell plus the extra point from the Sorcery Incarnate. That takes you to 4 that's a DC 14. And the kicker effect beyond that is not only is it a Constitution saving throw when you take damage, half the damage or 14, whichever is higher. It's literally on every saving throw your character makes while maintaining concentration. So you could be hit with a ray of frost and you have to make a dexterity saving throw or have your speed reduced to half this turn. You might not be planning on moving, who fucking cares, but you just maybe make a dexterity saving throw and the DC to save is 14. So there's a decent chance that I'm going to bumble that spell and I'm going to have to use my action economy next turn to turn the spell back on. Good thing we're using spell points, because spell points are, how do they say, infamous for allowing you to spam spells. But the only spells that your character would normally have to spam in normal D&D are instant damage type or defense spells. You wouldn't have a reason to spam concentration spells because you're concentrating on a fucking spell. So that's why spell points are considered to be so unbalanced, because the D&D 5e game system doesn't penalize you for maintaining concentration beyond the flat Constitution DC 10 saving throw that maybe you'll have to roll above a 10 if you happen to get damage in combat because you're caught out of position. And that's the only reason why you would normally be taking damage at all anyway. Normally it's just going to be a DC 10 because you're probably going to you're not going to be taking a lot of damage unless you're being targeted by somebody with a ranged attack. Most ranged attacks don't do a stupid amount of damage, so you're probably going to be taking less than 20 points of damage in that ranged attack unless you get caught out in an AoE from a spell effect. But often it's going to be less than 20 points of damage anyway, which means that the DC is never going to be above 10. But with this system, you are constantly being challenged to make sure you're in good positioning, that your mana pool is full, so that you can afford to recast that spam spell. Spellcasters become fragile. The martial power system has concentration effects for martial characters, but they don't have to concentrate on them. If they learn spells, then yeah, your martial character has to maintain concentration on the spell that you just cast. But if you're just using the martial power system that's in this book, there is no concentration for martial characters because they're constantly going to be making saving throws and taking damage. That's their job. They're tanking damage for the spellcasters so that they have to make saving throws and take damage instead of the spellcasters. That's their job. So a shitload of powers in this book are designed to peel enemies off of or keep enemies from ever getting to or targeting spellcasters, to keep them defended from being dinged like that. So the two systems complement each other very, very nicely. I am rather proud of it. So again, this document is available for you to read cover to cover. It's literally right here. Just click through my Patreon. You don't have to be a patron to have access to it. It's open access. Just like all the books I make on the DMs Guild, it will be 100% free for you to read once it's on the DM Guild. You don't buy my books to read them. You buy my books because you want me to make another one. If you don't like my shit, don't buy it. You don't have to be burned. If you think it's cool, consider making a purchase to encourage similar behavior in the future. So, hey, that's how that works. Sorcery Incarnate, you can maintain concentration, and as an action, you can now, instead of using your innate sorcery feature, you can expend uses of it to regain mana equal to your max sorcery limit. So it becomes a mana battery for you. By expending your rages without benefit, you're getting extra mana back as like a refuel. And if you have no uses of innate sorcery left, like say you burned both of them at 7th level to get 4 mana back, it's paltry amounts of mana, but if you need it, you need it. You can use it instead. You can't. Okay, so if in addition, if you have no uses of innate sorcery left, you can use it if you expend 2 mana while you take the bonus action to activate it. So it's not that you regain uses of it that you could then cash in for extra mana. What, 17th level, I spend 2 mana and I get 5 back? That's called a bag of rats. And that you kill a rat, you get hit points back. So you keep a bag of rats in your pocket so you can just arbitrarily kill rats to gain hit points back as free healing. That's what this does. It's called the bag of rats fallacy. It's a game design principle in D&D. It's a flaw in game design principles in D&D. Well, the way that you fix that is you don't have any uses left. So if you try to use it, you can spend 2 mana and it will work, but you've just used it. So you don't have any laying around to gain new mana off of. See how that loop closes that way? It's language and order of operations that is allowing us to manipulate the game system that way to avoid Baggeret's features. We already see those things cropping up in 5e by like when you do a thing, you do a thing. Anyway, I can't think of any examples offhand. And then at 20th level Arcane Apotheosis, you no longer need to expend 2 mana to activate your innate sorcery if you have no uses left. So again, you can't just generate free mana forever. You only get the 2 uses, which you can expend to gain additional mana right away if you want to. And at 20th level, it's 5 mana per pop. So you're getting an extra 10 mana back after you expend it by popping your innate sorceries. But now you can just spend a bonus action to turn on innate sorcery. But if you want to keep it going for more than a minute, you either have to pop the bonus action to reintroduce the action economy, or you're going to maintain concentration on it for 1 point of mana. But at 20th level, you can channel up to 10 levels worth of spells, so you can still maintain concentration on a 9th level spell while your innate sorcery is active at level 19 and 20. So there you go. That's how that system works. So that's why it works, and that's how it works, and that's why the wild magic sorcery still works well. So final thing, Tame Surge. Immediately after you modify a spell with meta magic, you can create an effect of your choice. Modify a spell or cantrip with meta magic. You can create an effect of your choice from the Wild Magic Surge table instead of rolling on it. You can choose any effect on the table except for the final row, and because the final row gives you mana back. And if the chosen effect involves a roll, you must make it. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, unless you expend 5 mana to regain use of it. No action required. You can spend up to 5 mana on meta magic at 17th level, and of course at 18th level you have access to 9th level spells, so this 5 mana cost is well within curve to be able to create these magical effects. So yeah, that's literally the Wild Sorcerer. So Wild Magic Sorcery, that really works. So let's start working on the Forsaken classes. Let's get past all this. Yeah, this guy's ready to go. If you want to start using it right now, you can. Circle of the Storm. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, we don't have any of the Forsaken subclasses in here yet. We don't have those for the full casters, do we? Did I not do any of them yet? I feel like I should. Light Domain, that's in there. Trickery, Warmane. Probably need to come through and fill in all the sorcery stuff. Life, Light, Trickery, War. Huh. War Domain. I should probably update these. I should probably add these on regardless. Okay, well, it doesn't look like I've actually done any of the Forsaken subclasses for the Sorcerer, so I guess this is the beginning of me doing Forsaken subclasses for the Sorcerer. So let me grab stack down here. Let's just grab you, just to grab it. Copy that. How are we doing on time? Let's check our clock real quick. Oh, we're only at 48 minutes. Okay, cool. So while we can end here, get rid of that, continue here. We can then take this. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we don't have any of the Forsaken classes in here yet. We do for the marshals, but we just started adding the full the full casters. So I don't anticipate including, well, the full casters aren't going to be in the Martial Powers book, but we're just dumping everything into the Martial Powers playtest document, so it's all in a centralized location for me to work on. When I redo the core class mechanics for this book, I'm only going to be using what's in the player's handbook. All the Forsaken classes are going to be in a separate document. that I can then update and implement as WotC comes out with more subclasses. I can further modify them to conform with the color mana system. We haven't talked a lot about color mana today, and I know that. Because the mana system works regardless if you're using color mana or not. Color mana adds basically additional limitations and stipulations on how it limits and in a way like nerfs how what spell options your characters have. So you could just use color as a narrative, saying that like your Gruul Wild Sorcerer is just using red and green colored magic, and then just narrate the spell effects as red and green, and then you're fine. Or you can specifically program each point of mana in your mana pool to be either red or green. And when you cast a spell, you only need to use 1 point of mana of the appropriate color. Like a fireball is a red spell. If I want to throw a fireball, it's a 3rd level spell. 1 point has to be red mana, and the other 2 can be whatever I want. Doesn't matter. Like, that's how it works. But if I run out of red mana, I can't cast any more fireballs until I get red mana back into my mana pool. Whenever I regain mana, whether it's from a short rest, a long rest, a mana potion, however I'm getting mana back, I can choose what color that mana is going to be. So you can, as all casters, all characters in the system, when you finish a long or short rest, regardless of how much mana you currently have, you can change what colors are in your mana pool. Like if I currently have 17 points of mana left, and I've only got 2 points of red mana left, and I need a lot more red mana, I could take those 17 points. I could say 10 of those points are now red, 7 of those points are now green. When I finish my short rest, I still have my 17 mana. I've burned out half my pool already today. That's fine. Let's say I sacrifice the use of my innate sorcery to get 3 points back. So I get those 3 points back. I'm going to say we're going to make one of those points red and 2 of those points green. So I now have 11 points of red mana, and I have 9 points of green mana for a total of 20 mana. 11 is red and 9 is green. And so as long as when I cast a green spell, 1 point of mana a pop plus however much mana, I could easily like have a bunch of red mana specifically because I want to burn a lot of it to fuel my green spells. So like when I'm playing a Divine Soul Sorcerer in my Curse of Strahd campaign that I'm playing, and I'm 6th level right now, I've got 25 points of mana, and I use white and green magic. So white and green can both be used to cast heal. But like all my combat spells are white. Bless, Guardian Spirit, Spiritual Hammer, Resistance, those are all white spells. But like the web spell that I use for crowd control, that's green. So the only green spells I have in the game right now is web and well, I can choose to use green mana for heal, like Cure Wounds, but I could use white mana for Cure Wounds. So almost all of my spells utilize white. So of the 25 points that I have at 6th level, I think I only keep 4 of them as green mana at any time, because the likelihood of me needing to cast web more than 4 times before I take a short rest is highly minimal. Unlikely. So that's all. The rest of my mana pool can just be white. So easy enough. But that's because that's how I sculpted my spells. Those are the spells I actually wanted to use. And I just figure out how often am I casting these spells. So what's my ratio of white versus green need to be? I could be more complicated and like go Alara and have a wedge or a pie color like white, green, and blue. And if those are the 3 colors, then I'd have to figure out my 25 points. How many do I want to be white? How many do I want green? And how many do I want blue? Well, I don't have any spells. Oh, wait a second. I don't have any spells that are blue right now. But if I picked up Counterspell, I don't think I have Counterspell right now. If I wanted to pick up Counterspell, that would be a blue spell. It would take 1 point of blue plus another point of, it'd be, 1 point of blue and 2 points of whatever. So, but I could also, if I didn't want to worry about blue, I could research Counterspell, so it could be a white or a green spell instead of blue. So I can get any spell I want onto my mana list, but I have to spend downtime activity researching it. Otherwise, I have to either find the spell that's already been reprogrammed, in the color that I want. So now I have a reason to go adventuring in different like research realms. Like I want to go invade Dimir because all the spell books in Dimir are going to have research for blue and black translated magic. So like that's a reason to go delve into Rakdos and Dimir if I want to get spells in the black color pool without necessarily doing the research myself. They would appreciate that I would steal that knowledge from them, I think. It's flavorful in that sense. So, but yeah, or if I really wanted to, I could learn the spell twice. One in its natural colors, and then I learn it again so it's whatever color I want. That's self-nerfing myself, removing spells from my spell list like options. And I'm already options starved. So that's not the best way to do it. But in a pinch, I could. And then I'm going to want to prioritize getting downtime so I can research shit. So I can learn the spell in the colors that I actually want to use them so I can make my mana pool more efficient. And if all the spells that I use are one color, I effectively have a mana pool that doesn't require color. Like universal spell points. Just narratively describing these spells as white, blue, red, green, black, whatever. It's just a mana pool. And it's just the flavor that I use describing the use of the magic that adds the color to it. But otherwise, it's just generic. So you have those three gears. Hard magic with mana points devoted to specific colors. Soft magic where it's just mana in general and you're just describing what the spell points are at. And then there's that middle gear where you don't have to worry about what color the points are, but you do have to make sure that the spell is a color that you can use, and you're going to limit yourself to 2 or 3 colors. So now you have to spend downtime to get the spells that you want onto your list. Otherwise, you're stuck with white and green spells, for instance. So 3 gears, it's all narrated the same way. It's just how mechanically limiting are you making your casters compared to your martial characters, because martial characters don't have to worry about that. Their mana, for the most part, is just descriptive. There are no absolute colors attached to any specific powers. You just narrate those so your mana pool stays flexible. Another way to balance martial characters with mana against full casters with significantly more mana. The full casters and even the half casters that are using color mana have to pay attention to what colors do they have in their mana pool for casting spells. But powers that martial characters pick up, it's just narrative. The mana is just the mana. Who cares? Though you could choose to implement that restrictive system if you want to, like strikes are red and reactions are white. So I have a red-white character. Actually, reactions would probably be red because that's like impulse and spontaneity. So that feels more like a reaction. So like strikes and exploits could be white, while reactions and maneuvers are red. And then sustain powers are both white and red. Or you could make them blue if you wanted to have a pie, for like a 3-point pie, for instance. It's up to you. That depth, that narrative depth is up to you, and that becomes part of your session 0 discussion. How hard is our magic system going to go? Hey, there we go. That's my timer. Where are we at on time? We're not quite at an hour, so I've still got some time left. Awesome. So we are looking at let's go into the DMG, into the player's handbook, and I said back to top. And let's go look at classes, and let's go look at 2014 classes specifically. Let's get into Scoresmurher and update some of these Forsaken Sorcerer subclasses. Aberrant Mind, check. Clockwork Soul, check. Draconic Bloodline, check. Wild Magic, check. So Storm, Shadow, Lunar, and Divine are the 4 Forsaken subclasses that we need to worry about. So let's label them Forsaken Sorcerer. Forsaken Sorcery. I love that. Let's call it that. Let's ramp up the size of that. Divine Sorcery. Formerly Divine Soul. Insert flavor text. Features. Divine sorcery spells. When you reach a sorcerer level specified in the divine sorcery spell table, you thereafter always have the listed spells prepared. And how does that go? Well, you only get one spell. Fatal Sticks, huh? Divine Magic. Your link to Divine allows you to learn spells from the table from the Cleric class. When your spellcasting feature lets you learn or replace a sorcerer cantrip or a sorcerer's spell of first level or higher, you can choose the new spell from the Cleric spell list or the sorcerer's spell list. You must otherwise obey all the restrictions of selecting the spells, and it becomes a sorcerer's spell for you. In addition, choose an affinity for the source of your divine power: good, evil, law, chaos, neutral. You learn an additional spell based on that affinity as shown below. It is a sorcerer's spell for you, but it doesn't count against your number of sorcery spells known. If you later replace this spell, you must replace it with a spell from the Cleric list. So we start off with Cure Wounds, but we can replace it with any spell level of at an appropriate point along the way. And we can always just pick up a spell. So I think what we're going to do here is identical to what we did for the Sorcerer. You gain 2 spells from the Cleric spell list. One is level 1 and the other is level 2. These don't count against the total number of spells. At 5th level, you gain 1 additional spell from the Cleric list. Up to of 3rd level of level 3. At 9th level, 7th level, you gain 1 additional spell from the Cleric list of level 4. At level 9, you gain 1 additional spell from the Cleric list of level 5. Whenever you gain a new level, you can swap one. Whenever you gain a new level, you can swap one spell. You can. Wait a second. You can swap meta magic gained this way for any other meta magic you now qualify to prepare it. Whenever you gain a new level, you can swap 1 meta magic gained this way. You can swap one. You can swap Cleric spells gained this way for any other spell you now qualify to prepare up to 5th level, up to level 5. 9th, or higher level. So it's still going to cap at 5, but you can swap around what they are. In addition, you can choose cleric spells instead of sorcerer spells when you can prepare spells from both the cleric and sorcerer spell lists. Yeah, easy enough. So that's divine magic. And then favored by the gods. Let's see what this does. And then we have empowered healing. And then otherworldly wings. One, 3 and 3, 6, 14, and then yeah, unearthly recovery, and then 18. Unearthly recovery. There. So let's look at favored by the gods. Starting at first level, divine power guards your destiny. If you fail a saving throw or miss with an attack roll, you can roll 2d4 and add it to the total, possibly changing the outcome. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. Not bad. Let's see. If you fail a saving throw or miss with an attack roll, you can roll 2d4 and add it to the total, possibly changing the outcome. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest, period. Alternatively, you can expend 2 mana to regain 1 use. There. 2 mana for 2d4 is horrible in comparison to the martial power characters. Getting 2d6, 2d8, 2d10, this is still lockstep at 2d4, and it costs you 2 mana as opposed to the martial characters, which would be able to spend 2d far more. Empowered healing, starting at 6th level, the divine energy court. Oh, wait, I need to put. No action required. See how that's different? You're spending 2 mana to regain this feature, as opposed to the innate sorcery. You spend the 2 mana when you activate this feature to gain it again. That upon activation prevents spamming Bag of Rats. This method gets you to spend mana to potentially need to make use of this in the future. You could theoretically make this spend mana when you make a die roll to re-roll to add to it, but that would make it more of a reaction ability. The innate sorcery already requires a bonus action to activate. So generally, if it's something that you can trigger on effect, but you don't have any uses of it, you just do it anyway, that's generally going to be whatever action economy is required. You can expend mana while you're doing that. As opposed to things that don't require an action are generally things that You can regain the use of this by spending mana without actually having to spend any action economy to do so, because it doesn't require any action economy to use it anyway as it is. So you could technically spend the 2 mana when you use the feature because no action is required for you to do so, and it allows you to do it both during your turn and not during your turn. I just want to spend 2 mana to add 2d4 to this die roll. There isn't even a limit on how often you can do it. You're gonna spam mana to have good die rolls. That is very much favored by the gods. I think that's excellent flavor, honestly, personally. Let's finish this up and I'll be done for the day. Starting at 6th level, the divine energy coursing through you can empower healing spells whenever you or an ally within 5 feet of you rolls dice to determine the number of hit points a spell restores. You can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll any number of those dice once, provided you aren't incapacitated. You can use this feature only once per turn. Yeah, it doesn't even require action economy to use it. So they have to say limit it once per turn. So we're going to erase this statement here as flavor text. Fuck off. Whenever you or an ally within 5 feet of you rolls dice to determine the number of hit points a spell restores, you can expend 1 mana to reroll any number of those dice once, provided you aren't incapacitated. You can use this feature only once per turn, but you can use it as many times as you want. It's basically a divine meta magic, which I love. Reroll any number of dice. That's great. Otherworldly Wings at 14. I suspect this is going to duplicate the draconic effect that we already have in the game. In fact, I'm so confident about that, I want to go up here and grab the Dragon Wings feature that we already have built for use with this. Copy. Pasta. So let's see what it actually says. 14th level, you can use a bonus action to manifest a pair of spectral wings from your back while the wings are present. You have a flying speed of 30 feet, lasts until you're incapacitated or die, or you dismiss them as a bonus action. The affinity you choose, the divine magic feature, the appearance of the spectral wings, eagle wings, bat wings, dragonfly wings. There you go. 30 feet. A flying speed of 30 feet. Okay. Use a bonus action to manifest a pair of spectral wings in your back. Huh. As part of the bonus action to activate your innate sorcery feature, you can also cause spectral wings to appear on your back, granting you a fly speed of 30 feet. There. You get the fly spell as part of the draconic sorcery. So I wanted to make sure that the draconic sorcery improved your fly spell if you were casting fly. Otherwise, the fly spell is completely retarded and redundant. But the divine sorcery isn't as such. But it does, again, it activates as part of your innate sorcery features. So we're again tying the innate sorcery into the use of your 14th level feature, which is always some sort of a modifier, like some sort of duration effect modification thing anyway. So it really just it works. It's just a great coincidence. I'm gonna grab this and then drop it in here, and then here, Unearthly Recovery. Let's see how this one works. As a bonus action, when you have fewer than half, as a bonus action, while you are bloodied, you can regain a number of hit points equal to half your hit points maximum. until you finish a long rest, or you can expend 5 mana to regain use of this feature. No action required. As a bonus action, while you are bloodied, you regain a number of hit points equal to half your hit point maximum. Because you're bloodied, you're automatically going to have less than half, so that math always adds up. There you go. Nice. Hey, that was clean. We're done with the divine. So let's grab some flavor text here real quick. Drop down into here and bop, bop. Bop. This is going to be what? Shadow? Lunar Sorcery. Thank you. Shadow Sorcery. And Storm Sorcery. I'm just going to kick Wizard down to another page just to create some space. There. All right, cool. So when we come back, continue here. We're going to continue with, well, we'll probably actually do the Shadow and the Storm Sorcerer. We'll probably save Lunar for last, you know, Dragonlance, fuck you. Whatever. Anyway, okay, so that's it. That's it for now. I'm going to bounce for the day. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning. We're going to do some more Eberron artifact artwork for the Eberron adventure that we're publishing, Crystals of Mabar. That'll also be on the DMsGuild when it publishes. And then I'll be back Thursday morning to do more Eberron art, and I'll be playing Shadow Dark with Wally DM, How to RPG, AJ Pickett, and some other folks, whoever else shows up. We'll be doing that Thursday night, and after that, we're going to spend a little bit of time on the Bastion campaign, developing, codifying, and creating structure for facility benefit for facility benefits gained by different facilities to benefit your Bastion. Maybe we should call them Bastion benefits. Not sure. Anyway, we'll be back, and then Friday we're going to be back here, and we're going to do more artwork in the morning, and then Friday lunch again we'll continue with probably Shadow Sorcerer, Storm Sorcerer, and if we get to it, Lunar Sorcerer. So that's it for now, guys. I'm out of here. I will see y'all later. Like, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. Thanks a lot. Cheers.